Bridgeport is Connecticut's largest city by population. It has a rich history filled with great stories and great people. But in the 21st century, it has experienced many of the problems that cities across the nation are facing. Our guests today are on the front lines of making sure that Bridgeport continues to tell great stories. Joining us today is Bridgeport City Council President Aidee Nieves and CEO of the Bridgeport Regional Business Council, Dan Onofrio. The Municipal Voice is the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities podcast in collaboration with WNHH 103.5 FM. I'm your host, Matt Ford. As always, be sure to give us a like and let us know what you're thinking in the comments below. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy to be here. So, first thing I want to talk about is last week, the National League of Cities was in Bridgeport for both the Women in Municipal Government and Hispanic Elected Local Officials groups, subgroups of that national organization, which are both headed by representatives from Bridgeport. Aidee, you are the second vice president for Hilo. You just had the joint conference with the women's group in Bridgeport. A lot of speakers. Can you tell us a little bit about NLC, the conference, and some of those speakers that we had here?
Well, we had a variety of speakers. We actually had Lieutenant Governor Susan Weisswitz came down to speak on the census, to give an understanding of where Connecticut is on the census
For the 2020 census.
For the 2020 census, and where we are on our complete count task force. As you may or may not know, Bridgeport was the first municipality to begin their complete count task force.
So it's a group in the city government who's
Yes.
focused on the census for 2020.
Yes. So we had a long discussion with Susan Weisswitz and a representative from the census, from the U.S. Census Office Bureau, and then we had a segment on housing and the housing crisis in Connecticut, and we had our new commissioner, Celia Mosqueda, who's from Hartford, and she came down and did a presentation to talk about the need of housing. We had speakers from Habitat for Humanity. We had we had someone from a local housing agency here, Homes for the Braves, to talk about the need for veteran housing.
Great cause. We've supported them in the past.
Yes, Homes for the Braves was here. And then in the women's segment, they had a few speakers. They had the president from the University of Bridgeport. She was one of our speakers to talk about education and equality of women in government. We also had a segment on the Me Too movement, which that was also covered locally here with some community action groups right here in this.
There's a lot of great local speakers, but we had attendees from across the country, right?
We had attendees from across the country. We had the vice mayor from San Leandro, California. She came and she talked about smart cities. We had a councilman who they both lead in NLC, the technology, the public technology committee. Yeah, they're both in public technology. David Luna from Mesa, Arizona, who's also the first VP of Hilo. He presented, and we had a long discussion about how do we get urban centers up to the 21st century and getting smart technology in our infrastructure and what that means across the country.
It's important stuff to cities like Bridgeport.
Yes, and then we had the second VP of National League of Cities, Kathy Manis, was here, both as a council member and a second VP, helping us out to talk about women in municipal government and what it looks like for women in leadership and moving up leadership to kind of inspire women in leadership to move forward in leadership roles. And it was really good. It was inspiring. We had council members from Newark. We had the vice mayor from Trenton, New Jersey here. We actually had from Camuy, Puerto Rico, we had a mayor.
All the way
from Camuy, Puerto Rico with us.
Wow.
Yes.
So a lot of different minds from different
communities,
different parts of the country, but a lot of similar challenges.
A lot of similar challenges. And I think the biggest conversation was the housing crisis. We all talked about equitable housing, fair housing, understanding what market rate housing means to people who are representing communities that don't have a strong infrastructure right now and are working up on their, rebuilding their economies, being from factory manufacturing to what is the next level to ensure that families have equitable housing.
Yeah. Let's talk about manufacturing. We talked at the top show about Bridgeport's history, and a lot of the economic activity was centered on the harbor and industrial sort of businesses. But as with Connecticut and a lot of the rest of the country, some of that industry has gone in Bridgeport. Dan, can you talk about Bridgeport now? What does Bridgeport make now? What are the industries driving Bridgeport now and into the future?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, manufacturing is changing, right? Not just here in New York, but throughout the country and specifically in Connecticut. So I'd say right now what's powering Bridgeport are three major service industries, right? Healthcare, finance, and education. So we have obviously Bridgeport Hospital and St. Vincent's Medical Center, which are probably, if not the two largest employers in Bridgeport. People's Bank inside is headquartered here. We probably have them here.
Right across the street.
Right across the street, yeah. And of course, University of Bridgeport and Santa Community College are also not just from an employment perspective, but what they do in terms of their program to generate talent for the area. So we've seen this shift towards service. You mentioned the harbor. I do think, and I probably can speak more to this, but I do think long term, Bridgeport is going through this dimension of trying to bring people back to the harbor. Perhaps maybe it's mixed use in the sense of work, live, play. Versus
for a long time, it was strictly kind of industrial and had that kind of reputation. But now they've got those developments going. There's retail going in. Right. All the area, also other kind of stuff. The Post recently reported that there's a need for jobs in the city and residents, with one summer program receiving 600 applicants for 100 jobs. From the business side, what kind of businesses are you looking at to start settling in the area?
Yeah, I think we like, since there's been this shift towards the service side of industry, I think those are good jobs, good paying jobs. So if we can align the educational programs coming not just at the higher ed schools, but even at elementary level and beyond, get our kids and our youth educated around the soft skills, the things that really are specialized within the service sector,
like training programs.
Exactly. Give them that exposure, and you see programs like that where we have 600 applicants for 100 opportunities this summer. That's a good problem to have, right? Unfortunately, we couldn't fill them all, but
the interest level is
there. The talent's here. Obviously, willingness for people to learn and take advantage of these opportunities. So the more that the business council and the city can work together on connect those opportunities with the talent that exists here to get them that exposure that the next generation workforce needs is a good thing. So.
That's cool. Yeah. Aidee, from the municipal side, what kind of businesses, what kind of jobs are Bridgeport residents looking for?
Well, we just asked that. We were just talking about jobs over at the PSCG event just now.
PSCG, what's that?
The power plant.
The new power plant?
The new power plant, right?
Just coming online.
Coming online today. So we had our official ceremony today, and there we talked about the Ready to Work program, where it's a training program powered by Career Resources through PSCG's Community Benefits Agreement.
So it's a partnership between the city and
the trade. So it's the trade and PSCG decided that they come together to start a training program. And that was something that the BRBC, prior to Dan coming on, had helped bring together for the community. And that's job training and trades. Not just trades, but also what Dan talked about service industry. I think re-imaging the city right now means that we have to find our new niche besides the hospitals. Being our main employer, we have to find service industry. And that's where I think the harbor redevelopment is going to play an integral part in bringing more jobs. And especially for youth, that is going to be a place where they'll be able to make a little bit of money and also offset the need of offset the needs of the community to help also hire adults and everything. So that's what we're looking at as a municipality.
Yeah.
The governor recently signed off on the bonding for a new high school that's going to have advanced manufacturing, and I think Dan and I, we've talked about this. What is the next step once the advanced manufacturing part? How do we build that funnel from training, from school to jobs? Yeah. It's not just college, it's about getting a trade or going into the service industry, and I think that's something when Dan became president, we had a brief conversation, and we keep talking about it. So we're going to sit down and we're going to hash this out and make sure we can partner to create a synergy for the city to start creating like a jobs track for our youth and for our residents and for the adults.
Good paying jobs in
Good paying
Bridgeport.
jobs.
Bridgeport residents coming into those jobs.
Yeah, I think the reality is, the jobs are there.
Mhm.
There's a little bit of a disconnect with getting the talent that we're producing.
Yeah,
in the city
is
and
that
region.
even more pronounced with some of the trades and the more technical things, that there's
Yeah, I think
jobs that but not necessarily people that are trained
Exactly.
in the area?
Exactly.
That's what this
Because
program is trying to
manufacturing,
address.
all those things are changing so rapidly. So the technology changes. So if we can continue to evolve and have the right people around the table, from the universities to the Sikorskis to the PSEGs, these are great blueprints of opportunity there. So we tweak and adjust the STEM education, as you know, is the buzzword now, that we're producing in the region to keep those kids here in Bridgeport, and fill that pipeline of opportunities that exist. You'll hear some more stuff coming out of Bridgeport in the months to come, but there's this whole idea of creating this ecosystem, the STEM ecosystem for the city.
And it's not just about training local people to get the job, but it's also about attracting business to the area, right?
That's correct.
Because if there's the people with the skills here, they're more likely to want to relocate to Bridgeport.
That's right.
So it great both ways for the businesses to find what they need and for people to find jobs.
Correct.
We know that a lot of the recovery from the last recession has hit states differently, and in some ways it feels like Connecticut hasn't caught up in the way some other areas have. But that doesn't mean that cities aren't trying to figure out how to develop and how to bring that money back in. We have areas like Hartford, Dunkin' Donuts Park, New Haven's been really concentrated downtown, and you mentioned before the harbor area. Can you talk about Bridgeport's kind of grand plans for the harbor area, like where they see that going in the future?
I mean, initially when the Steel Point concept came up with Bridgeport Land Development, it was to build a entertainment area.
This is the area of the harbor
This is the
across
harbor.
from kind of downtown.
Yep, this is the harbor that you can see when you're on 95, where you see the Bass Pro Shop, which is the front of the water. You can see the slips there for the boats, for the dock. That's been created. There's going to be more slips put out there. So next year that will be fully online.
Okay.
The restaurant has now opened, so there is a little bit of entertainment there where you can go to Boca Restaurant, which is located right on the water.
And so the docks are there for people with their own boats,
For
like
their own
pleasure boats to
Yep,
come
pleasure
in
boats
and go
come
to
in and dock. And eventually, once they start developing the rest of the harbor, because they're on phase 2 now, what we call phase 2, because the restaurant is open, the roadway is done, most of the underground infrastructure has been completed. So now it's about building up. And building up is ensuring that we talked about having a hotel on there, Bridgeport Land Development is going to be vetting whatever hotel chain decides to build there, to kind of create a destination on the water, on the harbor. I mean, we kind of been talking about emulating what we've seen at Baltimore National Harbor.
Okay.
So something like that, to see that in Bridgeport, because this is one of the only, I think, non-developed areas around the Northeast.
A large area of land to start going fresh with.
Yes. So it's really fresh, and the landscape is kind of fresh. And I know we've talked about the casino, but besides the casino, we've talked about reinventing Bridgeport's image of maybe on the water being a little bit more entertainment, family friendly, to have shops on the bottom, so it's mixed use. There's going to be apartments and top shops on the bottom.
There'll be apartments, there'll be shopping.
Yeah, restaurants.
Now there was the ball field over there. It's also being
The ball field, and then to the south of us right here, Live Nation ball field is being demolished to bring in Live Nation, the amphitheater.
Into an amphitheater, so concerts.
And and it's talking about bringing the traffic throughout the harbor, through one side of the harbor, which where the ball field is currently being demolished and is being rebuilt for the amphitheater. There's the arena, which is also entertainment. So we have Boca, which is underwater restaurants, and we have that entertainment. Kind of creates that traffic throughout Bridgeport, and bringing that into the downtown area and ensuring that we have lively.
So is that part you're looking at, is how to not only get the people there, but then have the flow of traffic kind of lead to downtown businesses?
Yep, lead to downtown in other ways and into the city as well.
Dan, what's got you in the business community excited about the harbor?
Yeah, of course. Look, being the largest city in the state of Connecticut, we've got the transportation hub here. And
We've got the ferry, we've got the train.
Exactly.
It's all right there.
So if we can continue to efficiently move people in and out and throughout the city, and make it as easy as possible, people will come. And then to piggyback and echo what Aidee said, a lot of it is marketing and messaging too. I often say this, maybe I shouldn't, but the Connecticut Post and the Channel 12 News, and those folks aren't going to really share the good news stories, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of really good things happening in Bridgeport, whether you're talking about business or you're talking about P.T. Barnum and you're talking about this stuff going on at the amphitheater. There's a lot of happening there. So working in partnership with the city, the BRDC, we want to continue to try to be that marketing engine for the region.
Spokesperson.
Exactly. Who better than us, than the chambers, the commerce, that bring that community and get them connected with businesses, but also with all the other wonderful things that are happening in the region. So I'm excited about the developments that's happening here. Boca, as Aidee mentioned, just opened up. It will be a full service marina.
Yeah.
So those docks are not just for pleasure boats. There's boatworks right across the way there that's servicing huge yachts. I see them coming and going.
That's jobs.
Yes, absolutely. So it's it's an exciting time to be this reinvention of Bridgeport, especially here downtown along the waterline.
The big part of the challenge is not just redeveloping Bridgeport, but also letting the world know about the stuff that's already here.
Exactly.
Rebranding.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and we just need to be smarter about it. When those people are coming off the ferry, or coming off the train station, is making sure that we have the right opportunities for them to venture into downtown.
They're stepping off, capturing them right then, and you don't need to then go off to wherever from the station.
Exactly.
Walk to.
Yeah, and there's a lot of exciting things happening right here on Main Street. Yeah. There's been quite a few redevelopments along Main Street here with retail component, a little bit of a mixed use, and there's some exciting things happening here.
That's great. So all summer, CCM Communications, we've been working with our intern on a parks project. We've been exploring municipal parks across the state, and really one of the gems of Bridgeport is Seaside Park. What role, Aidee, do you see parks playing in Bridgeport's future?
As I touched on before, we have Beardsley Park, which is where the Connecticut Zoo is located. Mm-hmm. So, and then we have Seaside Park, which is our beach area, and it has one of the longest stretches of beach right here in Fairfield County.
It's a big park.
It is a very big park. Yeah. And one of the things is that one of our councilwomen has made it her task to kind of help us with the Perry Arches. This designed the Homestead Park, designed the one who designed Central Park.
Yep.
So that is one of the things that a lot of people don't realize, but when they hear it, they're like, oh wow, I've got to go to Seaside Park. And the city's invested a lot of money into doing the ball fields, into making sure that the beach, putting more tables out, making it family friendly. And I think one of the things is when we have Live Nation go up and we have individuals who stay here at the Holiday Inn in downtown, is to bring them down to Seaside Park and create kind of like a weekly events that happens during the summer to get people there, which we have. I think July is the busiest month for Seaside Park. Between the end of June and July, we have Barnum Festival events happening in the parks, and it's about marketing and getting the families there to spend time there, because it's right in front of UB. So actually, when families come and visit to see the university, they're seeing what it is the park has to offer. So it's about marketing as both with the university and as a whole to the downtown area to create that traffic.
Yeah, and that sounds like an amazing asset.
And to Beardsley Park, which the zoo isn't, and the zoo really does a great job of self-marketing throughout the city, but getting people up to Beardsley Zoo, which is another gem that we have.
So Beardsley on its own is doing a lot of the kind of marketing that some of these other things in town can follow that example, like Seaside Park. So there's talk about maybe getting concerts and stuff there in the future. Is that kind of the
So we have a band shell, and we have a lot of community events that happen there, and that are pretty big. We have a Columbian Festival. We have I think the Jerk Fest was thinking about using it. The annual Jerk Festival, which has been going on for 10 plus years. So a lot of people are starting to utilize the park for their festivals. But we also utilize McLeavy Green Park, which is where we do our Downtown Thursday event. So what we're trying
right in the heart of it.
Just right in the heart, right here. Every Thursday in downtown, there's about 6 weeks. And that's another park that's been utilized by the communities, and it is a marketable park in a sense that is attracting outside people to come into the city and spend their time.
And that's another, not just for residents, so get the people come in.
Yep.
You got Fairfield County right on the Metro North line there. They can stop off on their way home. They can.
So and it's ideal. Like Dan just said, it's McLeavy Green right in the center of downtown. You can get off the ferry. You can hear the music. You can come on in. There's restaurants. There's the Stress Factory that we have there, which is entertainment wise. And then we have
Stress Factory.
It's a comedy club.
Okay.
It's a comedy club, and then we have the German Beer Hall, which is another restaurant that is there. And then we have Ralph and Richie's, which is on the main street, and we just opened up maybe about a month ago, Karaoke Boulevard, which is right here on Main Street as well.
So there's a full night's entertainment we have
There's
right
a synergy going around, and I think everything that's opened up so far has been strategic, that it's bringing traffic to different sides of the downtown and throughout the city, which is good. Out of the McLeavy Green Park, so people are just like dispersing to go, oh, let me go to the karaoke, let me go to Ralph and Richie's at dinner, or to the beer hall or to Stress Factory.
This is important. It's an important thing because the next generation, these urban centers need a renaissance of some sort. And the next generation, they want to be in places that there's stuff happening. And there's a lot of stuff happening here in Bridgeport, and there's a lot more that's happening here in Bridgeport. So if we can create that right housing mix that Aidee alluded to earlier, that's very significant. Because then you'll get the folks who maybe can't afford to be in Manhattan or in Westchester County, up here in the Bridgeport, you got the train line that can get you to Stanford and Norwalk and further south to get to their jobs. Or better yet, maybe there's that reverse commute up here, which I think is really what we're after, is getting people coming in the opposite direction and come to Bridgeport, not just as a destination, but also as a home where you live and work.
Live and work.
Yeah.
And there's a big movement, I think, with that, especially with you mentioned younger generation coming in of not wanting the suburban kind of commute. They want to be somewhere they can walk to their jobs, to the market, to all that kind of stuff. Aidee touched on some stuff going on in the parks with arts. How does the business community kind of view the parks and the arts as a draw? This
was a cultural thing for me. So I'm not originally from Bridgeport, right? I'm not far from here, up in the valley, but when I came here, I didn't realize how thriving the arts community is here. There is a wonderful and beautiful arts community in Bridgeport. Another one of those gems that I think we just don't project well enough or strong enough or loud enough. But it's significant because, like I said, these urban centers, it's important to have activity, and whether you can have it through the arts, through music, and through the creative side, but also these parks are, people want places where they can go and have a picnic, take their kids for a run and play soccer, whatever it may be. So, Bridgeport has that mix. Now it's just a matter of capitalizing on it, I think, and taking advantage of evolving the city, especially downtown, into what will thrive for the next 100 years.
You were listening to the Municipal Voice on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven. Before Aidee talked a little bit about the amphitheater coming in, a lot of big people have come through in the past at Bridgeport. Bob Dylan, Neil Young, lots more. It's going to be a big concert venue. What do you think the effect of a concert venue like that would be for businesses in Bridgeport?
It's a great opportunity for both large and small, right? Anytime you're bringing people and congregating into an area or community, it adds value in some way or another. So if we can be smart, again, as we mentioned earlier, about once people are here, getting to stay here for a little while, or before the show, go out to dinner at Avukela on Fairfield Avenue, or Ralph and Richie's, or one of these other restaurants that are opening up, soon to be another brewery in downtown. Yes,
there's already Brewport opened up.
Exactly. So the more we can do that
Mm-hmm.
is a good thing, right?
And then is that kind of part of your role is to reach out to get those people who are coming in to go see the concert, to let them know that when they get up to the station, they see that sign, the posters, the whatever, marketing that Bridgeport. This
Exactly. I think, a key function of the BRBC, the Bridgeport Regional Business Council, is working with the municipality in a lot of ways, as well as the Downtown Merchants Association here in downtown Bridgeport, and bringing the businesses together too, right? So this is the power of the BRBC is you have the Stress Factory, these restaurants and Bridgeport and all these retail outlets, and they're busy manning the store, right? They don't have the time necessarily to go to the meetings and to advocate for what would help their businesses. So we try to get those people around a table to try to percolate the issues that are driving their business needs, and then we can be that conduit for them and with the city, so that we can perhaps get some wayward signing throughout the city and some other activities. One of the things that I remember with the arena, this is in the early days, hopefully we'll continue to evolve this, but when there was an event, whether it's the Sound Tigers or a concert, and it would be the same with the amphitheater, the police department, and no fault of their own, but they would almost block traffic from entering into downtown. They would get on the highway, off the highway. And their mindset is, let's just alleviate traffic.
Traffic, let's get over as fast as possible.
We want to actually create a pathway for people to venture into downtown, and maybe there's another way. And so it's having those conversations and a productive dialogue to help the business community here in downtown when Bob Dylan or whoever's coming to the amphitheater next year. So those are the things that we look forward to continue to talk about and people
get around, come up with good creative ideas on how to market on this coming in. Dan was talking about the importance of changing the city in ways that will attract the next generation. Aidee, how far in the future, when the city is planning, like talking about redoing the harbor and things like that, how far in the future are you looking?
Well, I personally have had this conversation with my council members about we need to think about the impact and the decisions we make now. How is that going to affect the next 5 to 10 years of reinvigorating our city? Because every project that we say yes to, every proposal that comes before us is going to impact what our city is going to look like. And we can't shy away from making those kind of hard decisions where we say, do we really want this in our city? Or we really need to have that conversation. We need this in our city because in 5 years, people are going to be looking for a new place to move, affordability. And we are an affordable part of the community, but we also, in Fairfield County, we're pretty affordable because people are moving from Stamford area, from the New York area. So we need to start looking how to keep those families here and building their families out in the city of Bridgeport. I'm second generation, and the thing that has kept me here is I can work and live in my city, and it's affordable for me. Ensuring that is the top issue that we've talked about, and making sure that the city makes decisions that we can bring real jobs, sustainable jobs, who can live and work in the city and don't have to work second jobs.
Not being shy about when they're picking. If someone comes in, not to make the first thing that comes in, just grabbing like, is this good now? Is this good 10 years from now? Is this where we want to head 20 years from now?
I mean, I think people have said, manufacturing is dying out, but advanced manufacturing is not dying out. We need to look at how do we revamp some of our old buildings. We have a couple of small industrial centers which have smaller companies inside of there. We really building out on that because that's where we are. We look at the biomedical. We get Yale to invest in creating a medical park down there. How do we get these things to happen that can create sustainable jobs, and we can train our residents in the future to be able to work and do the jobs that we can possibly offer. Because we can't get STEM jobs when our infrastructure in our schools doesn't meet the need out of our schools. And I think that's something that Dan spoke about before, STEM education and bringing those kind of jobs. How do we create that segue? And that's something that as council president, I've always talked to the council about. I envision a need for that because I've gone up to Worcester, Mass, and I've seen how that city is transforming itself in that area with STEM jobs and recreating its industry and repurposing the city.
Now, is part of that, and I don't know what the situation is with high speed around here, but is connectivity and like having 4G or 5G, like those sort of issues, is that important to businesses, especially when you're talking about STEM, having the infrastructure here already?
Yeah, of course, obviously connectivity is a big deal. I think Bridgeport is we have a pretty decent fiber coming.
So it's already kind of well positioned to get some of those.
Yeah, now it's just a matter of figuring out the appropriate way to disseminate it throughout the appropriate facilities and business buildings throughout the city, which I alluded to before.
Yeah, we were talking about the advanced manufacturing. What are some of the tool jobs? Like, what are those industries? Biomedical was one. What are some of the other?
Well, I think having Sikorsky right up the road is anything in aerospace engineering. Those type of programs are significant as well.
Yeah.
And we alluded to before trades. I mean, manufacturing, as a generic term, people just
cover so much,
especially the older generation. We automatically assume, dark, dingy, these factories, right?
Well, yeah, that's the other part.
It's not like that. It's not like that.
Better paying jobs.
Exactly.
But also, a lot of the industries we're talking about are cleaner. We're not talking about polluting kind of stuff. We're talking about smaller, more
clean jobs.
Clean jobs.
Yeah. And I think that's part of it. There's this opportunity for kids to get exposed to these, science, technology, math, and the arts and engineering much earlier. So this way they get exposed to the skills that are required for those type of opportunities that exist. And it's just different now. So the more we can expose the next generation to those type of technologies, and the better off we'll be.
Awesome. Back to Aidee, there's been some talk, a lot of speculation about the casino. Can you talk a little bit about where that stands and let listeners know a little bit more of the background they might not know about what's going on there?
Well, from last I heard from one of my state reps, it's kind of a conversation that's happening. When I saw the governor at the end of session, they were talking about the tribes, they were talking about putting the bill was going to come out of committee. There's so many rumors, but the residents here in Bridgeport really want to see something happen. Whether it's the tribes that build here or MGM, it's about sustainability. How are we going to sustain that industry and the jobs, right, for the residents? I mean, we want to be the entertainment hub of Fairfield County. We have accessibility, water, rail, and highway. But how do we sustain that if we don't get the casino, right? So we have to think of the next plan. But I personally want to see a casino because that would bring another level of entertainment and another level of traffic. Do I believe that the casino will be the magic pill for the city of Bridgeport? No, it has to happen in multi-layers. But from where we stand right now, the casino is kind of stagnant. Really, everybody's out of session now, so it's going to come up again. And my hopes is that the Bridgeport delegation will make the push to push the governor, and we and the municipality are going to try and push our state reps to have their backing on pushing this forward. And it's really about getting Lower Fairfield County, where we've gotten a lot of pushback from some of those municipalities who don't want the traffic, who complain about the traffic that's going to occur coming to Bridgeport because, we build a casino, which, I don't know. Can you speak to that, Dan?
Yeah, so, look, this session was pretty frustrating as it related to the casino. And I like to always refer to it as a resort casino, because I think that's ultimately really what Bridgeport needs and wants. We don't want a slot shop. I don't think any
it's also shows, it's dining.
Exactly. It's an experience, and it echoes and really fits in nicely with the conversation we've had earlier about Bridgeport being a destination. It complements the arena, it complements the amphitheater. It's just another place for people to go and congregate right on the water. And the biggest thing for me, that's used a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth on how the session ended, it is the jobs. We talked a little bit about before the shift that we've seen in Bridgeport to the more service-oriented roles. What the casino plan that was proposed wouldn't have been the silver bullet to fix all our problems. But gosh, when you have a private organization looking to invest $500 million of their own dollars, not asking for any, contributing a ton of tax revenue, not just to the city, but to the state, but more importantly, virtually guaranteeing thousands of jobs. And these are well-paying jobs. These are service industry jobs with benefits that you can transfer to anywhere. How do you say no? That triangle, and I referred to the case study that we did, but that we had exposure to. That triangle from Waterbury to Bridgeport to New Haven represents 20% of the unemployment in Connecticut. Again, this would not have solved that problem, but gosh, it certainly would have helped.
It's a nice dent.
It would have been a really tremendous shot in the arm to Bridgeport and the greater Bridgeport region on multiple levels. So I'm hopeful that the governor, I'm hopeful that the Bridgeport delegation can stick together on this issue. It is an important one. Again, it doesn't solve all our problems, but it certainly helps a lot.
So it sounds, you want to see it happen, it would be great, but it's not the be-all, end-all, and you have plan B already working on that. If it doesn't happen, you're not putting all your eggs just in that basket.
I think the Plan B aspect is when we talk about a Plan B, it's not just for that thing. It's about really focusing on the Plan B is like keep the city moving the municipality, and that is a conversation that has happened with the council people who represent that district, and the Steel Point development is part of my district, and we can't just focus on just everything on Steel Point. The casino is a big part of it, the entertainment part. We want the resort, we want to be known as the entertainment hub of Fairfield County, but the rest of the city has continued to move, and that's the Plan B. It's still moving forward, working with the BRBC, working with businesses that want to come in and offer other different types of entertainment, so we can start creating different types of goods, and hopefully that will put a lot of pressure to make sure that that project can happen, to make sure that we continue to build on Steel Point, continue to build on our entertainment identity.
And the casino could be a big part of that, but one way or the other, Bridgeport is moving forward.
Yes.
Got a good future ahead of it. Sort of the final question, and we'll start with Aidee on this one. What does Bridgeport need? In general, what would make Bridgeport residents, maybe you as Bridgeport resident, happy if you got it? And as a follow-up to what does Bridgeport need, how do you get it?
I think what Bridgeport needs, and we're talking about that, is a strong revitalization between, like we've been talking about the arts, about housing. We need quality housing. We need to image our city. And I think to what Dan spoke about, the Connecticut Post and News 12 doesn't help us re-image our city. They're just giving out the news. So it's really about the rebranding of our community, the rebranding of all the attractions that we have, the services we have to offer, and more to come. And it's reconnecting the neighborhoods to each other to create a better flow and understanding of what the city is. We have Black Rock, which is a small entertainment area. It's about connecting Black Rock to downtown to create that roundabout traffic, to create the traffic to up north Main Street, to where there's nicer restaurants, to Connecticut, to Connecticut Zoo, to Pleasure Beach Island, down to Seaside Park. It's about that connectivity. And when we have it, and the casino resort, or the resort comes, or an entertainment facility is built on the harbor, we'll have it. We'll feel like we finally accomplished it. And then the second part to that is, hopefully the governor and the delegation can work really hard on the second train station and create that other transportation vibe here at the Barnum Station, like we had talked about with the previous administration with Governor Malloy. And then I think Bridgeport residents will feel like we've gotten somewhere, we've got it. They're seeing it in small segments, but we're not going to feel it until we see something big and massive. So when the amphitheater is done, they're going to feel like we're getting closer, closer. So it's about this, having the long game vision.
Long vision. And you talked about, we did talk a lot about the harbor and the casino, but you mentioned Black Rock and North End of Maine. There's already these great things here, and so it sounds like part of what you're looking for the future is actually stitching all those separate elements together so that people don't just do one part of it, they see it as a complete whole.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Yes.
Dan, what does Bridgeport need in the future, and how do you get there?
So I similar to Aidee, it's a two-part answer I got for you. One is, it's a more fundamental as it relates to businesses. It's really, making Bridgeport, Greater Bridgeport region just easier to do business in.
Okay.
Part of that is taxes, right? Obviously, if we can increase the tax roll, it'll help everybody in the long run, right? It will keep taxes in check, so it's easier to do business here. How do you do that? It's tough, and one area that we're looking to hopefully foster dialogue is from the business recruitment and retention side. There's these site selector shows that happen throughout the country, and Connecticut in general doesn't really have a strong presence. We're there, but who is Connecticut? Who are we? Yes, the defense industry is a big part of who we are, but Hartford's different than Bridgeport. Bridgeport's different than New Haven and Stamford, and so what we're looking to do with we call it this network of metro chambers. So we have the major metro areas of Connecticut. We're just looking to work together a little bit more closely because I can't get to all the site selector shows. My colleague up in Hartford can't as well. So, but we can help each other out, right?
Well, we benefits one part of Connecticut.
Exactly. So we're looking to do more about, and this kind of leads into the second part of my answer. And again, to echo, I think what we've said multiple times is really branding and marketing and messaging who Bridgeport is and the opportunities that exist here, not just from a community perspective, but for business. And here's a very small example, not to take too much time, but and I mentioned this at our annual lunch that happened earlier in June, but our office receives calls all day long from businesses, whether it's just a general resource question or to how do I get financing and stuff. But we had someone that looking to relocate their small chip manufacturer. When I say chip, but chips basically, but they're a Polish delicatessen.
That makes chips.
Yeah, that makes chips, and they manufacture these things out in Newark, New Jersey, and they're expanding, and they outgrew their space. Being originally from Connecticut, the gentleman said, "What's in Bridgeport?" And who better than us to help match up the right opportunities for that particular business? And they relocated here, and they just signed their lease not too long ago over on Union Avenue there, and it's a great story, but it's not the big business. It's not the Amazon that we would love to have, but those opportunities exist, and who better than us to kind of have that inventory and be able to speak intelligently to businesses on, hey, what opportunities exist here, to be that advocate for Bridgeport and the Greater Bridgeport region. That's why I'm excited to be here. That's why I'm excited to work with the city, and I think the more we can do of that sort of thing, the better off we'll be in the long run. But that example, he's bringing 20 jobs here. It's Bridgeport within the first year. If his growth plan matches up, it's 40 jobs in the next 3 years. So it's a great story. So I want that story 20 times over, 100 times over.
Yeah, Amazon wants to move. It makes national news, but there's these small to mid-sized companies everywhere that could benefit from being in the right size.
Right, and we need to continue to tell their stories. That's the missing piece right now. I feel we have a bit of this self-fulfilling prophecy of, well, it's Bridgeport.
It's Bridgeport.
Yeah, when some people say Bridgeport, like, no, it's Bridgeport. It's we've got stuff going on.
It's the place
and so the more we can do of that, people just naturally the mindset will start to shift. And it'll take time. It won't happen overnight, but gosh, there's a lot of really good things happening. And I think the more we tell that story, the more our youth gets excited about, yes, I am from Bridgeport. I'm proud to be from Bridgeport. So it's not going to be easy, but it's one of those things where it's a good challenge. I think there's a good story to tell here. and we just need to do it better than we have.
Great. Well, I'd like to thank our guests, Aidee Nieves and Dan Onofrio, for being here. The Municipal Voice is a co-production by CCM and WNHH 103.5 FM. Kevin Maloney is our executive producer, Christopher Gilson is our producer, Harry Draws is on the boards, and I'm Matt Ford, your host. Be sure to check us out on Facebook Live and give us a like. And watch out for a CC series on YouTube. See you next time.
So you heard her say she loves me. I thought you'd understand.